gentlemen, we are back with a brand new podcast, and this is super exciting. Starting the new year strong with a podcast with Nick. So Nick got picked up by what was last known as SK and now DZ. And if you remember, a couple of videos ago, I released a video just highlighting my thoughts on Nick as a player and how great of a pickup it was. They had an amazing season, and now we're about to have a conversation with him about what it means to just like how his first season in the Pro League was. A lot of controversial conversations about other teams, his thoughts on teams, his strengths and weaknesses, and some really good insight on like routines in the DZ team house. And I think this is going to be amazing for amateur players to experience and just learn what it means to actually make it there and what it takes to stay there at the top. They've had an amazing first half of the season so far, and looking to stay strong and make land, and I hope they do. And I wish them the best. And before I hop into this video, I think it's important to highlight a dilemma I'm in at the moment. I can keep recording these podcast videos, but that's going to be a bit challenging because pros have their own strict schedules. So that sometimes these videos come out like once a month. And I really want to keep releasing consistent content. And I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts. You can let me know in the comments if you want me to just release some videos talking about psychology in gaming or self-discipline in gaming, or just practice routines that I think are interesting, both from a physical health perspective and just from a gaming perspective, or just some motivational videos, or maybe with some montages because I also do play. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, alright, I guess like we should find out like a starting point here. Let's talk about you, just where you started from. Starting from like early Siege towards eventually getting on SK.
Okay, so in the very beginning of my career, I'm not entirely sure the very first team I joined. It was probably some team, maybe Addiction or something back then. I mean, it wasn't Adversity with Gibbles back then. It's like back in season 1. I ended up getting onto Paradox with like Heavy, who was a player for Noble, and Mayhem and JT, who I don't think played the game anymore. And just ended up working my way up all the way to pretty good teams. I formed Tesla with one of my good friends, Pacer, who no longer plays the game either. And when over the course of being on these teams, I gained a lot of comp experience pretty quickly because we were playing against top level teams at the time, we were scrimming Pro League teams even though we weren't Pro League ourselves, and we were scrimming pretty high level teams. So gaining experience from those scrims and those matches that we were playing was really beneficial to me as a player. Over time, I got onto Polar Ace, was probably the first big team that I made it onto. That was with Holiday Nog, and that was when I went to my very first event in DreamHack Austin. Unfortunately, not placing well at the event, getting beaten by Beast Coast at the time, as well as T3H with Panari. But it was still really good for LAN experience for me, really good exposure. And after that event, unfortunately, I left Polar Ace and I went to Nomads. In my opinion, Nomads were a really strong roster. We had Suzaku at the time, who was IGLing, and I was second IGLing. And that I really do feel like that roster could have been really something special and I would have been staying on that team. But about 2 weeks into the team, when things were going really well, Hot and Cold, who's my cousin, he gave me a message and he told me that they needed a player because Evil Waffle just wasn't working out at the time. So basically, it's just my transition from my very first starting point as a player up until SK. Definitely did not expect to get the offer from Hot and Cold like I did. I didn't know that scrims weren't going well for them. I didn't know that Waffle wasn't doing well. No disrespect to him, he's doing great on Disrupt right now. So it definitely caught me by surprise.
Tell me about like that message and what that felt like. What went through your mind at that point?
I kind of knew something was up in the near the end, because Hot and Cold was messaging me 2 days prior, and he was asking me about scrim results, like how scrims with Nomads were going. He was just curious on like how I'm doing as a player and how our team's looking. And he explained to me after, he was like, you may not want to leave because your team's doing so well or something like that. And I was like, dude, there's no way I'm going to turn down a Pro League team to stay on Nomads. No disrespect to any of the players on Nomads, but Pro League's Pro League. So I definitely felt overjoyed. This is something that Pro League is something that I've been fighting for ever since I came into this game when I was 16 years old. Me and Hot and Cold ended up playing. We started playing the game at the exact same time. Basically, he was playing maybe a month before I was. He's the one who introduced me to the game. And Pro League was something that was always just on my mind from the very beginning. So once I got that message and I proved basically a lot of people wrong, there was a lot of people that didn't think I was going to be able to make it and didn't think I was going to be a good enough player to hang with the best. So once I figured out that I actually was going to be playing my first Pro League games and stuff like that, I couldn't. It was one of the greatest feelings of my life.
Tell me about the first scrims with him then. Like,
I actually got in scrims with them that day. The change from Challenger League teams to Pro League teams it's actually insane. It's massive. So the things that were happening in scrims that first day that I was playing with them, I was out of my element, to be completely honest. They were making calls. They had like it's so organized, so it's really hard to explain, but the chemistry and everything is just so different from CL to PL. And I honestly got caught off guard by it. So Mint, who's our IGL and our captain, kind of took me under his wing, and he's helped me become a great player. Everyone on the team has been giving me advice, helping me become the player I am today. So I quickly figured out what I was supposed to be doing, quickly adapted, and quickly got into my element. I have nothing but admiration and fucking respect for my teammates because they helped me become the player I am today. So
yeah, I think that's really crazy because when I heard about you joining SK, like I was like, okay, like there's got to be, and this is also about. I'm about to phrase this in a question. See, this is a question. Like there has to be challenges towards joining a pro team, or like things you had to unlearn. Maybe like some bad habits that you learned back when you were on other teams. Do you have examples of that, or
yeah,
just
definitely. So, me as a player, I'm known as a very aggressive player, known as somebody that maybe takes too many fights, is taking fights that maybe are not in my advantage. So when I was playing Pro League scrims and I was finally in the element that I wanted to be in for so long, I was actually losing a lot of gunfights and getting picked pretty early in the very beginning because I realized I can't be taking these fights like I was doing in lower level play because these guys will punish me for that. So I quickly learned, like, and my teammates, like, Nix, you can't do that. So, like, aggressive play and just, like, peeking stuff that's unneeded is one of the biggest factors that I think underage players struggle with. They think that you need to take fights and that you need to get these opening kills and you need to get this frag out. But it's basically the opposite. Holding map control and playing with teams and playing with your team more and utilizing utility is the more important thing rather than just looking for those kills.
Yeah, definitely aggressiveness would be a huge thing. What do you think, like, were your strong points for joining this team? What do you think SK gets? Like,
I think one thing that a lot of people undervalue as me as a player is I have very good communication. I think my comms paired with Jarvis's comms are absolutely insane. Probably some of the best comms in North America.
What are good comms? Let's start there.
Good comms would be clear. It's kind of hard to explain. So on SK. Oh no! Now DZ. I'm a guy that brings a lot of energy to the team, and I have a lot of energy within my comms. So, I feel like because of that, it helps us out in a lot of areas. Because if we're going down, say like we're losing a match or we're not performing up to par, and my energy can bring us up, and we could always serve out to comebacks and stuff like that. So like, good comms I feel like have really good energy, are clear, are not over cluttered, are precise. A lot of things is like we go into certain maps that we know we want to play, and we'll make a bunch of callouts that are not utilized within like other teams. Like so, we have special callouts on our team, like versus like no other teams are going to have that callout. So we have a lot of things like that to just figure out specific things rather than being ambiguous and vague on certain calls. So paired with all that and just me and Jarvis's communication together, I definitely feel like I've helped the team in that regard.
This is the second time, like, my podcast admit he highlighted Jarvis's communication, and I think I really want to understand. Is he just like, because I know he had some comp experience from Halo, maybe I can't remember if it was Halo, but
yeah, he was a Halo player.
Is he a caller like an IGL who calls mid-round adaptations or?
No, Jarvis is definitely not an IGL. I think that Mint's obviously our main IGL, and Hot and Cold's our secondary IGL. And I actually think that I IGL a little bit when it comes to site executes and stuff like that. Nothing crazy, but I do think I have some what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word, but I play a part into IGLing as well. But Jarvis's callouts, what makes it so good is he's just it's his clearness. It's his specificness on calls. How like he can make a call out, and right when you hear that call, you'll be like, okay, I know where that guy is. Like versus other people are going to be like ambiguous in what they're saying, or they're going to be like stuttering, or they're going to be just a lot of stuff like that. They're just like Jarvis knows exactly what to say, and he says it with such precision that it gives you the call that you need, and you can react off it accordingly.
Yeah, I think that this sort of makes sense. Coming from someone who's played in a couple competitive teams, I could tell the difference when I tried out a good support player whose comms actually gave me kills towards someone who I've been playing with for a while that I felt like yeah, I think that highlights how important communication is. So it's amazing to see how Jarvis's communication um like helps you guys get kills. Tell me about your roles now in DZ, or how they like have your roles changed since you first joined? Are you more
Yeah,
flexible now?
it was definitely interesting because when I was first joining this team, the very first day, they told me that I was going to be a Hibana Echo player. So they said I was going to be basically picking up support roles. And if you look at my ops today, I'm playing Ashe, Blackbeard, and like Legion, a bunch of like flex ops on defense. So not playing Hibana, and I still play a little bit of Echo, still play a little bit of Maestro. So I still, they're honest in that regard. But my ops have definitely changed over the course of my competitive career with SK and now DZ. And I think that's just because my team quickly realized my fragging ability and my entry skills, like how good I am as an entry. And they felt like they could utilize me better in certain areas than I was currently being used in. So I didn't really play Hibana for that long. I played Hibana for probably about 2 weeks in practice, maybe less than that. And quickly I got put onto entry frag roles. I got put onto flex roles, and I fit really well there, especially because I work a lot with Hot and Cold, and who's my cousin, and me and Hot and Cold have really good chemistry together, just due to the fact that we are family, and just due to the fact that we work really well together. So putting me on those roles, it kind of helped team chemistry, and it helped us gel together a little bit more. And overall, it's been working out a lot more with me on the flex roles rather than playing more anchor support roles.
That's great. So the fact that you and Hot and Cold are cousins, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, you and Hot and Cold are cousins. Do you think this like played a factor towards you getting Axe to join the team?
I definitely think you have to have connections in the pro scene. I definitely am not going to argue with that fact. People say that the only reason that I ever made it to Pro League was due to my connection with Hot and Cold. That statement I totally disagree with. If I wasn't good enough to be in Pro League, if I wasn't good enough to hang with the best, then I wouldn't be here right now. I think I've proved myself as a player, and I think I've proved myself as a teammate. And I definitely think that I definitely do think that the connection with Hot and Cold helps me get onto the team. Yes, but I think that with due time, I could have made it without the connection as well.
What makes you so sure?
My dedication and my focus as a player. I basically told myself that I this is something that I want, and this is something that I want to prove everyone wrong in. I'm not not to be arrogant or anything in that regard, but it's just like I wanted Pro League so bad, and I gave up so much in my life. I gave up. I had a lot of fights with parents when I was 17, 16, everything. So I've given up a lot within my life to make this goal, make this dream come true, and I wasn't going to fall short of my goal.
I think just because we're talking about that, I sort of want to transition and talk about something that might be a little bit more. I don't expect a straight answer for it. So because you are now up there, if I say it compared to, like a year ago,
right?
Do you think it is as tangible towards other people trying to make it?
I definitely would say that it's a high risk, high reward situation. So you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to know your own abilities going into it. So if you are honest with yourself and you think like, hey, I really can compete at this level, and I know that this is something that I want, and you have support from your parents, and you have you have the utilities to do it, then I would say go for it. But in my opinion, my decision was pretty risky in what I did. I didn't go to college, and I'm still not in college now, obviously. I recommend that everyone that wants to pursue pro league should probably go get a degree and go to college, finish out their general ed, and then probably pursue pro league at a later time. It's just better to have a backup plan in that regard. I think that the risk is too high, especially with the current state of the game. Every single player is getting better and better, and the skill gap of Siege is just getting higher and higher, and it's going to continue to grow every single day.
Yeah.
So with the skill gap growing, you're going to need to be an insane player to make it into pro league, especially if you don't have connections.
I know I asked you your strong points a while ago. Tell me the things you think you're bad at. What are your weak points? Maybe not bad, but things you could definitely improve on that maybe joining pro league highlighted on, apart from being really aggressive.
Things that I need to improve on are probably positioning mistakes. I think if you look back at the Orgless game that we just played 2 days ago on Monday, I think that I costed us a lot of rounds on defense just due to me not having map awareness and me not having the correct positioning to net me some kills. And that just comes to due to my game sense and lack of experience in certain sites and certain takes that other teams are doing. If I focus more on my positioning and focus more on my map awareness, I definitely think it'll make me a better player. Other things that I can improve on would definitely be, it comes into my comms. Sometimes I get over hype. So like I said, I am a very hype person. I bring a lot of energy to the team, but sometimes I can let my emotions get to me as a player, and I'll make like calls that are too aggressive or calls that are too loud or calls that are just too filled with too much emotion. I need to learn how to tone it down when in tense moments or tense games.
Okay, tell me about the first season then, like the first season of you guys being at SK. How do you feel about that season, both from your performance or the teams, and maybe things you learned playing through that the whole season and not making LAN?
My very first season of Pro League coming in as a rookie, with SK we placed third place. Now, at the very end of the first half, we were first place and we were looking very good to go to LAN, very good. We were just looking great overall. That season was definitely unfortunate for us because we kind of got lackadaisical. We kind of got comfortable. We beat ourselves in that regard because we didn't practice enough and we didn't come up with new material, like new strats enough, and it ended up biting us in the ass because teams adapted, teams got better, and teams ended up just outplaying us in the end. So, my rookie season with SK, I think I performed very well. I think that I was probably one of the best rookies coming into the game, coming into Pro League, other than Hyper. I think Hyper had an amazing season his rookie year as well, playing for Mouse Sports at the time, now Rise. I just think that if we just focused up a little bit more in the second half and didn't get comfortable, we probably would have maintained first place that entire first season.
How are you guys looking for this season then? Do you guys have any other games this week?
Sorry?
Do you have any other games this week? I don't believe
so. No,
so
the game that we just played versus Rec was the last game of the first half. So we have a 3-month period, unfortunately, because we didn't qualify for invite. So we are going to be just putting a lot of dedication, a lot of time into focusing on our game, looking back at VODs, seeing our mistakes, and improving on them. With the help of BC and Bacon, they could definitely help us out in a regard with our strats, with our mentality issues, with just like everything that we need improvement on. And we're going to make sure that we don't get comfortable this half of the season, during this break, and we're going to make sure we come out even stronger in the second half than we did in the first half.
Okay, how do you stay sharp, Nix? Because I remember back when at least when I used to pay attention to you, used to play a lot of like ranked or something. How do you stay sharp now that you're in Pro League without playing matchmaking?
The best way to do it is just, it's the most repetitive answer ever, is lots of T-Hunt. Another thing that BC actually introduced us to is a Steam app called Aim Hero. Aim Hero is a application that we've been using to improve on our aim. It's basically just a target practice game or app, whatever you want to classify it as. But we've been doing a lot of Aim Hero, and that just helps with our reaction time, helps with our aim, helps just overall mouse comfortability. And we've been doing a lot of Aim Hero. And I think that's definitely improved me as a player. I also coming into the team house, I lowered my sensitivity a little bit due to recommendations from both my coaches. They think that my sensitivity was too high and it was making me inconsistent. In game, I played 10-10-50 with an 800 DPI. Now in game, I play 8-8-40, 800 DPI. So I lowered it a little bit. I definitely think that the change has made me more consistent as a player, and I'm hitting shots that I may not have hit in the past just because it was too high.
That's interesting. Tell me about invite calls and not making it at least the games what you thought about them, because I know your tweet that you posted right after that. I think that was supposed to be yours or something of the like.
Invite Quals was a tournament that was definitely ours coming into it. We were prepared. We knew we were going into. We knew the teams that we needed to watch out for, and it's kind of a cop out to say, and I'm not going to say that it was what lost us the tournament, but we were having internet issues going into the tournament. Really big problems that were causing us round losses. Really big problems that costed us matches. In my opinion, we lost the disrupt match due to the fact that we had to play attack rounds 4v5 every single attack round because we had DCs and just constant problems. We weren't granted rehosts because it's just we would have to be rehosting every single round. The internet was awful. Also, Pojo Man had 200 ping every single round of the disrupt game. His ping was insanely high and wasn't able to play how he should be playing with normal ping. And throughout the entire tournament, after we lost to disrupt and got knocked down to losers bracket, the internet never got better. We kept DCing against Accelerate, who ended up knocking us out of the tournament. I'm not going to say that the internet lost us the tournament. I'm going to say that our mentality, due to the fact that we lost the disrupt game, is what lost us the tournament. We blamed it on the internet, and our mentality just got bad. It affected us negatively, and with that mentality going into future matches, we didn't perform as well as we needed to as a team.
Let's talk about DZ Dark Zero, this unknown org that caught everyone by surprise.
Right.
But we're seeing a lot of interesting things, like the resources you guys have right now are just amazing. Tell me how these resources, like what they are, and tell me how they've helped you as a team and as a player also.
So just looking at the resources alone, like the team house is the biggest factor for one. So getting a team house and being all together every single day, having connections, building team chemistry and stuff like that is absolutely massive. Being able to be in person with your teammates and being able to talk about mistakes face to face is a game changer. Definitely, it's a lot different than being being online and talking about things of that regard. Another big resource that we have is the Clever Touch TV that we have downstairs in our practice area or gaming area, whatever you want to classify it as. We talk about all of our strats on there. Brandon will draw up strats. He will bring up VODs that we need to watch, things that we need to be looking at, and just constantly going over things, writing it down, memorizing it. And then we also all have notebooks that you may have seen it on the streams before, but every single player on the team has a notebook that they're required to write in. So we write down all of our strats. We write down how we did for the day. We write down, it's basically a journal. Basically, we write down our thoughts every single day, and we talk about things that we need to improve on, things that we did well in scrims, things that we did bad. Just small things like this. Like it may not seem beneficial at the time, but like writing down your thoughts and just being there with your teammates is it brings such huge improvements to the team in a quick, like massive rate.
I saw that you guys also had pictures of like you guys trying to work out and stuff. I don't know if you guys still do that on a regular basis. Tell me if that's helped you.
Definitely, we have a personal trainer. So coming into the team house, we knew that we were going to have a personal trainer as well. He's also our nutritionist, so he lets us know like what we should be eating, what we should be not putting in our bodies, obviously stuff like that. But a good food and meals that help with brain recovery and brain focus and stuff like that. The workouts by themselves have been really helpful for us as a team because I feel like it also brings team chemistry, like we're doing something together. And it just also helps because you feel more active, you feel better about yourself as a person, you feel better just in your own body. And by doing that, I definitely think that has an effect on how you play in game, just due to the fact that you feel more comfortable and you're more relaxed, and just your chemistry overall with your team is definitely better.
You told me you used to watch, like you and BC would like watch VODs or something. Tell me about how to watch VODs, like because I'm expecting amateur players to maybe listen to this, or people who are like new to the comp scene. But how do you watch your enemies' VODs and how do you watch your VODs? Do you mind asking that? What do you point out? What do you look for? And things like that.
It depends on your role in the team. So my role as a team is I'm just the player, right? am not a IGL. I'm not a captain. I'm not anything of that regard. I'm just a player. So when I watch VODs back with Brandon, I focus on the things that I need to be improving on. So what did I do wrong here? What mistake did I make here? What can I do to make this round better? So I make sure that I improve on the things that affect me negatively and affect the team negatively. While looking at it from an IGL perspective, like Mint, when Mint watches VODs with Brandon, he has to look at the entire team. He has to look at, okay, what could I have called here? Should we have done a side execute? Maybe I should have rotated here. And he has to keep in count of all the team's positions, and because he's accountable for what we're doing, what strat we're running, where we're going to rotate. He's making all of these calls. So watching VODs with Brandon when Mint's doing it is definitely more difficult because he has to keep count of 4 players as well as himself. So if you're a amateur player and you're going to be watching VODs, whether it's with your coach or by yourself, you need to look at yourself and figure out what your role is. Are you just a player or are you an IGL? So if you're just a player, focus on yourself. If you're an IGL, you need to look at the bigger picture.
Do you ever play a team and just have like a bad mentality towards them? Like maybe you play a team that's like really well known. All of a sudden you like have that fear in you compared to confidence for a second. Have you always been this like confident player?
The way that we see it is we don't care. We don't care about the names behind the screen. We don't care about who we're playing. We view every single team as just another person, and we view every single player as just a player. We don't put name to player at all. So that's definitely the idea behind it. You don't want to be. You don't need to care about who you're playing against. Just focus on what you need to do as a team. Focus on what you need to do as a player, and just execute properly, and you'll be fine.
I'm definitely curious towards like physical health more now because I think it's an important thing that people don't learn till they actually get into organizations. And I think if you don't mind sharing some info that's something that you've learned from this, what are the things you can eat and cannot when you're playing at a competitive level?
So obviously we are going to eat whatever it is that we want. There's no regulation or restraint onto the food that we can eat. But some of the foods that our personal trainers advise us to eat is like chocolates or strawberries or things things that can really help with recovery and brain activity because you're with being a professional siege player, we're constantly practicing probably like 13, 12 hours a day. So we need stuff to make sure that we're maintaining focus. Stuff like apples are really good as well because they have they have a lot of sugar and they can rather than having energy drinks or stuff like that. Um, Natural resources for sugar and natural resources for brain recovery and focus can definitely be beneficial. Another thing that's been definitely helpful for me as a player personally is we do a lot of meditation. Meditation's been helping me focus before games. So every single game day, we meditate for about 20 minutes as a team, and I definitely think that's been helpful due to the fact that I could just focus on myself. I don't have to think about anything that's stressing me out. I could just relax, get into my zone, and then we can go play our game.
When you first joined SK, you spoke about earlier how the Challenger League scene and the Pro League scene was just so divided in skill.
Hmm.
Now that you're on a pro team and you're still scrimming potential Challenger League teams, do you still feel like it's still so like the skill level is still so high?
Not to the degree that it was when I became a pro league player. I think that the skill gap is definitely getting closed. I still think that there's big differences within CL play versus PL play. One of the biggest factors, like I was talking about, is amateur players or CL players definitely are just too aggressive to my liking. They're taking fights they don't need to be taking. They don't understand the idea of trading effectively. They don't understand the idea of just playing passive and waiting for the enemy to make their mistake and waiting for the enemy to just execute sight or make it, just something. They just want to be like taking fights, taking angles they shouldn't be taking, and I definitely think that's one of the big factors that cause problems between CL teams.
I think people I know who've scrimmed your team have spoken about you guys actually going to scrims, trying to effectively practice. Do you guys have ways that you actually try to make that like if how do you guys go into teams against challenger teams who already are basically like sort of beneath you, no offense to them? How do you guys make that practice sometimes still effective when
we
you're
don't
playing
we
teams
don't
you're
look
dominating?
we don't look at the teams like, of course we want higher level scrims, right? We always want to be scrimming the best of the best, just so because like, again, no disrespect to any CL team out there, but you want to pro league teams want to be scrimming top level teams to get the best practice, right? But if we have to scrim a lower level CL team or anything to that regard, then we just go into it the same mentality that we're playing the best team in the game. Like if we go into a scrim undermining a team, they could end up coming out and taking a map off us. It's very possible. Siege is a game where It's if you're not focused and you keep making mistakes, teams are going to capitalize on it and you're going to get beat. So every single time we go into a scrim with a team that's maybe not up to our caliber, we want to treat it like they're G2, want to treat it like they're EG, we want to treat it like they are a good level team, and you want to just play your game.
Speaking of G2, do you feel like EU is such a divided? I know there's a lot of talk, maybe from the spectator's point of view, that like EU is so much better than NA. Do you feel like that's true? I don't know if you guys scrim EU teams or not, and you get to feel the skill level difference, but do you think it's just like thrown rounds for the most part?
We definitely have scrimmed EU teams as well as Latin American teams in the past, and we still plan on doing it in the future. I definitely don't think that EU is better than North America, especially not this season. There's a huge divide within like Team Secret and G2, as well as like teams coming in like Lestream and Empire, who are just making huge impacts on the game. And I don't understand the divide of what's going on in the EU right now. I think G2 are just making a lot of mistakes that they're not prone to making. And I think that chalks up to them just being comfortable again. Kind of what happened to us at the end of the first half of Season 7. We got comfortable and we thought that we were going to be the best, continue to be the best, and it came up to bite us in the ass. And I think that's kind of what G2's feeling now. The skill gap in Siege is constantly growing at a rapid rate, and I think G2 got caught, and they're definitely going to be more focused going into Invite.
What are the bad things? Like does it get annoying waking up to your teammates every day? Because as much as it might be amazing and an amazing chemistry building experience, sometimes it's weird.
It's definitely weird, especially because we're human. We have emotions. We bicker from time to time. It happens. We definitely going into it in the like first months, because we've only been in this team house for 2.5 months, not very long. So the very first few weeks, it was definitely interesting. It didn't feel like I was at my house. It kind of just felt like I was at a hotel, or I was just like, it was interesting. But now that I'm here in the element a little bit more, and we're staying longer, it's definitely starting to feel like home. I definitely love all of my teammates. They're like my second family. We can bicker from time to time, but I know they got my back and they know I got theirs. So,
tell me about the Reciprocity 4K.
The Reciprocity 4K is definitely one of my. It was a huge play for us as a team in that game. So we knew that Reciprocity was going to do a back take because they we set up to counter their West Roam that round, and once they started to do it to try to take across West, they saw that we were there from with 3 people and castles, so they were like, shit, we can't go this side, we need to rotate tower. Once they rotated tower, I got into Red Hall, which is the exact play that we dry ran, and the exact, that's where I was supposed to be. And Pojo man is just holding blue for me so I don't get pushed from my right side. Jarvis ended up having vision on the Blackbeard that was coming down backstairs, and I just took a fight on him. Now that he wasn't expecting me in red. Got that kill. Pojo got pushed from Blue Hall. I ended up killing that guy, and then killed another guy backstairs. And Laxon came up Blue Hall and I killed him. So definitely was just the timing on a lot of things was probably lucky on my end, but I just won a lot of gunfights that I probably shouldn't have won, definitely. But just good comps from our team, good positioning on both of our parts, Pojo man and me, and definitely was a good round.
Yeah, how was Reciprocity? Like, how was playing against them? Are they this aggressive, like, team that everyone calls them right now? Do they feel that way on match day?
Definitely going into the match on Oregon, I expected them to be more aggressive. I expected them to take more fights, take more engagements, but actually they didn't. They played pretty reserved. They let us do what we wanted to do on the map. They didn't fight us. They didn't try to fight us for map control in a lot of spots. And I think, I don't know if that just comes down to them not knowing how to play Oregon effectively. I think that in the ban phase, they were expecting us to go to Coastline and not take them to Oregon. So I think that they were preparing for Coastline, and we caught them off guard with the ban. And I don't think that they understood how to maintain map control properly. And I don't think they wanted to take fights against us because they wanted to play more reserved.
I think you've played Oregon like twice this season, right?
We've played Oregon 3 times, and we're 3-0 on it this season.
All right, what are the keys to winning Oregon? What are the keys to being so solid on it?
It's definitely interesting because if you look back to Flipside and even further back when I wasn't even in the pro scene, I was still really young. The core that I'm playing with today, Hot and Cold, Pojo, and Mince, they steered clear of Oregon. We haven't played Oregon as a team in a very long time, and coming into the team house and coming in with Brandon and Bacon, the coaches told us, like, you can't be banning Oregon. We need to get good at it. So basically, once we got into the team house, we put a lot of practice into the map. We got really comfortable with it really quickly. Realized that there was no reason that we should be uncomfortable with this map. It fits our play style really well, and we just got really good at it. I think the keys to winning Oregon are just having really good positioning with your team, having really good comms, and you have to know how to rotate properly. If you know a team's going to do a back take and you don't rotate to stop the back take, you're going to get punished. So rotates are the biggest thing on Oregon. You can't be static. You can't be just holding angles. You have to be rotating effectively, talking to your team, and making sure you're plugging the holes.
I'm definitely curious about that, like effective rotating, because that's what separates good teams from bad. In my experience, especially in the amateur level, if I am a defense player, if I'm playing castle, I don't know exactly where you start playing off when you're holding downstairs. But if you're playing downstairs and they're not getting the front hatch so quick, and you're hearing like sounds in blue, what is like effective? It's obviously situational, but what's like an effective thing you can do to counter such a blue take? What's a good effective rotate? Does that mean 2 or 3 people push over to the other side of the map and leave one person to watch like the other side? What does that mean exactly?
It depends. It depends on what you want to do as a team. So it's definitely a team-oriented decision. So if you already have vision front side with a Valk cam, or maybe you have a Maestro bubble or an Echo drone, then you really don't need to dedicate a player to watching front. Maybe just play him within like towels or a hallway or something along those lines, and just play off the cam. So if you know a team is doing a back take, things that you may want to do as a team is regain meeting control. You may have a strat where 2 guys go up the main stairs and you guys retake meeting together. Or maybe you have another strat where you're running like heavy denial ops, like smoke echo and like 2 C4s or something like that, and you just want to bunker site, let them come up hallways, let them get the map control, and once they're in, then you just stop them from planning C4, and then just trade effectively. So it definitely just depends on what you want to do as a team, and then you have to execute it properly.
I'm also curious as to what Oregon has developed into and like higher tier play. Is it still effective to go back and try to retake top when people are downstairs? Like go back on those meeting flanks? Because like that just seems like a point to die usually. A lot of angles to watch as soon as you come out of the I call the room green room because it has that little light coming from bottom T1 or something. But like, what do you think about that?
I definitely think Oregon's developed over the years, and it's definitely a map that's more refined now. Oregon is something that is just, whenever you play Oregon in a Pro League game, you play Oregon. You know what's going to fucking happen. So it's super refined to the point where you really can't do anything new on it. So when if a team, there's just different styles of the way that people play Oregon. There's nothing new. There's just like, okay, this team's going to play Oregon aggressive roam, or this team's going to play Oregon with heavy denial ops, or this team's going to play Oregon with just trying to spawn peek heavy. So it depends on the style that your team wants to adapt, and it depends on the play style of each player. So if you have really defensive players that are support types and aren't really going to be winning a lot of gunfights, then you play Oregon with C4 ops, smokes, and echoes. But if you're a team that's maybe pretty aggressive, like Reciprocity, then you probably do more roam setups, more aggressive fights, and just take map control.
I'm also curious as to playing the first Oregon game versus Rise and Mints with the blitz pick. I feel like I had this conversation with Kilo. We were talking about it, and I felt like there's no way you play DZ on Oregon and expect a blitz or a Monty or a shield. Mm-hmm. But it still seemed like they weren't expecting that. And not only that, but it also seemed like they were not ready to counter that. What is the effective counter to a blitz? I don't know if you can say this or not. Or maybe not even just in Oregon, just in general. How does a team stop throwing away rounds to a blitz player?
The best way to do it is just effective crossfires. Really, you have to, that the blitz is coming from one angle, set up a crossfire, and then shoot him when he comes through the door. I mean, it's pretty simple. I think a lot of teams just lack communication and don't understand how to deal with blitz. Just be due to, honestly, it's a lot of I think it's fear. Teams they see the blitz and they get scared. They're like, oh shit, Mint's on blitz, and Mint's probably one of the best blitz players in the entire game. And Mint takes advantage of that, and he ends up getting really good plays. There's so many operators that can counter blitz effectively. You have smoke grenades, you have impacts, you have Legion, you have frost traps. There's so many things that can slow Mint down, but teams just don't seem to be utilizing it effectively.
I know they played a lot of Kapkan. Do you think that was a waste of a pick or a 6th pick, do you think?
The reason that they played Capcan is because the Pulse was banned. So we knew that they played a lot of Pulse and we banned it. So they didn't really know what to pick at that point. So they were just kind of desperate, took Capcan, and it did not work. So.
Okay, tell me about playing EG. I know a lot of people put them on a pedestal. I don't know if that's true, and I want to hear your thoughts on EG as a team, on the game you guys played. I want to hear your thoughts.
EG is a very good team. Definitely have proved themselves to be one of the best in NA and one of the best in the entire world. I have you can't argue that. They're a very, very good team. In our match against EG, came into Coastline very confident that we were going to be able to beat them, very confident, and our team played very confident just in general. Again, I'm not going to blame internet. I do think that game should have been a tie. There was a round where they were defending Blue Bar, and I was in kitchen, and I ended up disconnecting from the game before being able to do anything. And I was in such a power position that they had no clue that I was even in kitchen. I was probably going to end up getting a double kill from that spot. So that round alone definitely threw off our mentality, threw us off as a team, and it affected us throughout the entire game. I think EG is a team that is pretty refined within their ways, but the thing is that makes them very good is they are very adaptable. So they have a plan, but if they see mistakes or see flaws within your guys' defense or your attacks, they're gonna abuse it. So they saw that on Coastline we were playing off site really heavy, and we didn't really have much utility on site to stop quick rushes. And 3 rounds in a row, they took Ying Glass, and they completely countered us, and it was really good play to them.
So now that the next half of the season's about to start up, what steps are you guys gonna take to make sure you don't make the same mistakes as last season towards like staying sharp?
Definitely gonna be dry running a lot more, talking to our coaches a lot more, making sure that we have a very refined map pool, making sure that we are comfortable on every single map. I definitely think that's one thing that's going to be beneficial to us is that the introduction of Nomad and Cade into the second half of the season is going to benefit us more than it might benefit other teams because we adapt very well and very quickly to new metas. And I think we're a really big meta setting team. So with these new operators coming out, and we have the time and the resources to evaluate them and figure out what we want to exactly do with them, it's going to be really beneficial to us.
Okay, so now I'm like really curious as to now that you've made it up there. I'm gonna ask one of those questions again about now that you've made it, Nix. What do you have to tell other people? But you don't have to give me the generic advice people always give other people. For people who are trying to make it to this level and putting in the hours, who actually think they can make it, do you have any advice for these people, like amateur players or players who are just generally in the comp scene with a dream to play pro? I know you've given the advice that said, it's a risk. Make sure you have life figured out with a backup plan first. Anything game wise, anything maybe social skill wise that they might be lacking? Very general question too, I understand.
Yeah, I think the advice that I can give is figure out where you are as a player and start from there. So if you are a CL player, focus on CL. Focus on the things that you need to do better as a player and improve on it. So if you're below a CL player, don't try to jump to CL. Don't oversell yourself. Don't think that you're some player that's going to immediately just make it to Pro League because you are someone that just maybe overconfident or maybe just arrogant to a level. Make sure you are understanding your skill level as a player and stay within your lanes. So figure out what it is you need to do it, improve as a player, and then you will see constant growth throughout your entire season, throughout your entire career as a competitive player. So a mistake that a lot of people make, or a lot of teams or just individual players make, is they try to go too quick. They try to jump the gun, and they think that they're better than they really are, and it ends up biting them in the ass, and they don't really recover that well. So get on a team, play the game, keep playing the game, scrim better opponents, and then move on from there, and just keep working your way up.
Okay, thank you, Nix. This is amazing. I think there's a lot of key points from this that people can take home, and just people's general thoughts on DZ. I think the physical health advice you give on things people can eat are actually so helpful, and on meditation before games, that's people don't get to hear these things, right? People just see the DZ stream come up and just see you guys playing and maybe think you guys sit there all day.
Definitely.
But I appreciate this. Thank you for stopping by. Hopefully, we get to do this again in the other half of the season and reflect on those. And I hope you guys get to make land too. That's definitely the big dream.
Yeah, thank you, man. I really appreciate you, having me on the channel, having me in this podcast. I really appreciate the support that you give to our team, and we just hope to come out second half of the season stronger than we did the first. So.